Hey guys, it's Jambros back with another pre-raid loot, dungeon, and rep guide, this time for Death Knights. Yes, both Frost and Unholy. There's a lot of gear overlap, so I'll kind of be explaining the differences per slot. Remember, since this is pre-raid, you aren't ever really meant to be full abyss, unless you go really hard these first few weeks. Almost all your items can be upgraded in the raids of naxx, obsidian, sanctum, and Eye of Eternity. These items are meant to be used in that period of time before you enter the raids for the first time, and in between lockouts for slots they haven't been able to upgrade yet to maximize your damage in the meantime. Since this guide is a little more general, the format is shown here and done per slot. If applicable, there is kind of Abyss 1A and 1B, then also a good to decent option which is behind those two, and then a hit option if you need more hit, and the previous options don't really have any. I've also sorted through all these items and where they come from and listed on the right side here. This way you'll have a good idea of which heroic or reputation you should be focusing on, and I'll be doing a bit of a priority focus recap at the end. Before we get started, you'll want to know your caps for hit rating and expertise. Expertise is a solid stat for DKs, and without any racial or talent help, this takes 214 rating. More likely you'll have Tundra Stalker if you're Frost, or Rage of Rivendare if you're Unholy, and both give you expertise along with any additional rating given to you by your racial bonuses. Hit rating is a much more complicated stat for Death Knights. There are so many possible hit rating caps that I kind of just boiled it down to the spell hit cap. This is 289 rating and 32 less technically if you have a Draenei in your group. Hit rating past this amount is still useful if you're dual wielding. You won't hit a hard cap for that. It's something like 750 to 800 rating. As Frost, you will want at least 8% so you don't miss Obliterate, but the spell hit cap is useful for Howling Blast. Even as two-hander Unholy, the hit cap beyond melee attacks is good. Getting going with the Helms, there's really only one option, one big clear-cut one. The Spiked Titansteel Helm is leagues better than everything else you can get without stepping foot in a raid. The Bind on Pickup Engineering Helm is not terrible if you're an engineer, but you're probably better off just spending the gold for the blacksmithing crafted one. The Titanium Impact Choker and the Gold Amulet of Kings are a virtual tie for Frost DKs. Plug in a Strength Gem here, you can just get the JC Net crafted. For Unholy, I'd like the Gold Amulet of Kings a little bit better. Shoulders are a little weird. Undoubtedly, the best pre-raid shoulders are the Pauldrons of Berserking with some Strength Gems in them that come from Sunwell. If you understandably did not get these, you'll be looking for the Spaulders the Giant Lords. This is from Sun's Hodir Revenant Reputation, which you should be trying to get anyways. The Troll Woven Spaulders are a weird one, and I debated actually including them. They're buy not equipped, so easy to acquire, but the only useful thing about them is the expertise, which you'll want on a Frost DK if you're not capped, but they are not worth it if you're an Unholy DK. For the cloak, the Bloodied Waters BOE cloak from Gundrak's King. Buy it, loot it, whatever. If you can't get this thing for whatever reason, then Shroud of Reverberation and Halls of Lightning is okay for Frost. Honestly, you should probably just get this cloak. Not only is the Emblem tier chest your best overall chest piece, but you're going to want to rush towards your 2-piece tier bonus. This one does cost 80 emblems though, so the Bone Grinder chest plate from Ankahet is a suitable middle ground until you can afford all of your pieces. Vengeance Bindings are a great, cheap, bind on equip option for bracers. I'd say they were the only real option for the wrist slot, which is true for Frost, but the Bands of the Stone Forge from Halls of Stone is perfect for Unholy due to the haste on it. However, they are both very close, and I'd lead towards the Vengeance Bindings if you still need the hit rating. Tier gloves are at the top here, 60 emblems to buy them, and like I said earlier, you'll want to get your 2-piece bonus as soon as possible. The Gauntlets of Dragon Wrath are definitely not as good as the eye level 200 tier gloves, but can work in a pinch if you're still saving up the emblems. Normally, I would recommend Jorak's Crocolisk belt here, but with the relative value of strength to DKs, Verdungo's should be better. They're both bought with 40 emblems, so you just be picking which item from a menu. The Flame-based Steel Girdle is a very close, just not quite as good option for both specs compared to Verdungo's. Picking it from the Nexus if you haven't collected the emblems for a belt yet would be a good idea. For the leg slot, the Staggering Leg Plates from UK are definitely your best option and make up a huge piece of your needed hit rating. Funny enough, the closest piece of this is actually from Sunwell, the Fell Fury Leg Plates. 3 whole gem slots to put in Northrend gems brings up its value quite a bit. Shout out to the leg plates of Bloody Reprisal that I didn't list here. That comes from Wormrest Accord Exalted. They're not excellent as it has 100% armor pen for a secondary stat, but if you're really unlucky with the Staggering Leg Plates, they can be a guaranteed option. The Death Inured Sabatons from Ebonblade Exalted are probably your best overall boots, and the most reliable to acquire. Just put on a tabard and go do some dungeons. However, there's a second option for the Unholy spec, the Obliterator Greaves, and it's a little more rare as it drops specifically from Zuramat in Violet Hold. Your number one best ring by a good amount is the Ring of the Kirintor. This requires Kirintor Exalted and costs several thousand gold. If you really want to be pre-raid this, then get this. Otherwise, you still have some good options. Hemorrhaging Circle and the Titanium Impact Band are both agility rings, but the former is still an incredibly strong and in-demand expertise ring, while the latter has a gem slot to put a strength gem. The Ring of Scarlet Shadows is actually a great hit option as well with the gem slot, plus it's a cheap BOE. Compared to the other rings, I especially like that one for Unholy over Frost. Also, I didn't list it here, but the Band of Frosted Thorns is an okay strength crit ring from the Nexus if you need a filler. The king of all trinkets for DKs is the Greatness deck. This is going to be very pricey, but it is extraordinarily good. No other trinket really comes close. But you have 2 trinket slots total, don't you? So the right answer is either Mirror of Truth or Meteorite Whetstone. Mirror of Truth is better for Frost, and the Whetstone is better for Unholy due to the strength of the haste proc. If you're desperate to put anything in there and just haven't been able to get the 2 of the 3, then Sphere of Red Dragon's Blood, if you can use the hit rating, is okay, and the Profession trinkets are serviceable as well. Sigil of Haunted Dreams is for Frost, and Sigil of the Wild Buck is for Unholy. Neither of these are really any good, but they're really your only pre-raid options. Haunted Dreams is bought with 15 emblems from the vendor, and Wild Buck is bought with 30 venture coins. Weapons are complicated. I'll start here with Frost DK weapons. Frost will wield 2 slow, high damage weapons. The best pre-raid weapons that fit this are Titan Steel Bone Crusher, which is crafted through blacksmithing, and the Kroll Cleaver, which is actually a world drop BOE, and is sure to be stupid expensive. I'm not going to encourage you to buy this for a pre-raid piece, but if you have more gold and you know what to do with, then go for it. If you don't want to buy a Kroll Cleaver, these are your best 2 offhand options for Frost. Reaper of Dark Souls, which is incredibly easy to acquire with Ebonblade Rever reputation, and the Key, which drops off one specific boss mob named Laventhor and Violet Hold, and is therefore more rare. I would say the Dark Souls sword is generally better, but if you're an orc, the extra expertise using an axe is nice. For Unholy, if you're dual wielding, you are not required to run with 2 slow weapons, therefore opening up fast weapon options in your offhand. While you would still use the Bone Crusher in your main hand, you can now buy Grass Cutter as your offhand with 50 emblems. If you don't have the emblems yet to buy this, the previously mentioned Reaper of Dark Souls and the Key are suitable backup options. If you are not dual wielding and instead going the traditional 2-handed Unholy, you should craft this, the Titan Steel Destroyer. If you are broke and unwilling to get anything crafted, the Colossal Skullclad Cleaver from Halls of Lightning is close enough. And that wraps up all your gear slots. For a quick priority list, you'll want to get Knights of the Ebonblade reputation to Exalted first for the boots, and thereby opening up the sword in your Helm enchant at Revered. Kirintor's second to Exalted is a good option if you plan on buying the expensive ring. Death Knight gear is pretty spread out over the dungeons, but I'd say your biggest priorities are Utgard Keep for the legs, and Utgard Pinnacle especially for the neck, and Meteorite Whetstone Trinket. That's a big one. Gundrak is a solid secondary dungeon for a cloak drop if you don't buy it on the AH, and Hemorrhaging Circle that drops there if you're searching for a second ring. There are a lot of potential crafted items here, helm, rings, etc., but you really should be crafting a weapon if at all possible. And finally, if you're searching for what to spend your emblems on first, I'd say you should be rushing for your 2-piece tier 7 bonus, which means the glove is in the chest. After that, you can go ahead and branch out a bit. That's it. If you have any questions, drop them below in the comments or come by on Twitch, link below in the description to catch me live. If you like this sort of content and want to help support this channel, be sure to like this video and subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you next time.